gotkushTV. After a stellar 2019, your #1 Black conscious media platform is getting ready to go into overdrive for 2020. As we promised last year, we launched The Inside. We premiered the pilot for the Black Group Economic Show. We dropped 2 new seasons of Wordsmith, the #1 platform for artists with a message in the music. We've seen you out on the road, the Black Carpet Awards, the Reparations March, the Legacy Center of Excellence, and more. We brought you Dr. Mumbi, the legendary Bob Andy, Queen Diambi, Kemi Seba, Esther Stanford Hossein, Leo Mohammed, Brother Leader Badaka, and more. And now, 2020 is set to see gotkushTV taking it to the next level. First up, look out for the official launch of the gotkushTV website, your official portal for all things GKTV, including new shows, news, views, and reviews, soon to be serving you with advertising opportunities and the launch of the GKTV African market. gotkushtv.com will also be a global hub for all things Black, conscious, and empowering from all over the Black world. Black achievers, Black excellence, education, health, positive Black imagery, entrepreneurs, Black brands, and charity work. All this and more can be found here at gotkushtv.com. Then there's the new shows. Decipher, the dynamic discussion and debate show. Health is Wealth, practical tips for living in wellness. Kush Communiversity, home of Black Warrior Scholarship. And UK Fire Entertainment, bringing you a slew of music videos for your listening and viewing pleasure. Look out for more of The Insight, Wordsmith, and the full 3rd season of the Black Group Economic Show, all coming your way soon. As always, the GKTV film team is available for hire to cover your events and all filming needs. Visit us at gotkushtv.com for hire inquiries and more information. Stand by all Black businesses through our website, social media, and show content. We have monumental advertising, sponsorship, and network opportunities catering specially for you. gotkushTV is about to take off. To join us for the ride, there's 4 things you can do. 1, subscribe to our channel. Hit that bell to make sure you don't miss a release. Join us on all social media and hit up gotkushtv.com to subscribe to our mailing list for exclusive opportunities in the near future. 2, like. Let us know you're feeling our content by hitting that ever so important button of approval. 3, comment. We want to hear your feedback on everything we're putting out, so make sure your presence is felt in the comment section. 4, share. Spread the word by hitting that share button and exposing your circle to the magnificence that is gotkushTV. We look forward to building with you throughout 2020 and servicing you with high quality Black media production. gotkushTV. Beyond discussion, beyond debate, we put the power in Black media.
Do we need less of the Top Boy style road life narratives or something else? I am Yamaya and this is Decipher.
Whether you like it or not, that is part of our reality. And to me, the purpose of art is to reflect reality.
They don't promote Black scholarship or Black intellectuals.
The more degenerate he depicts me, the profitable it is for him.
But where's the Rasta man on the block? Because I'm just man them with him.
It doesn't meet the narrative that people want to project of Black people worldwide.
Enter Decipher.
Greetings, kings and queens. Greetings, and welcome to gotkushTV, your #1 Black conscious platform. In the UK, kings and queens. Yes, indeed, we are here with a most important this conversation for you tonight, kings and queens. For you tonight. Sorry, I'm just a little bit distracted over here. Forgive me. Welcome. As you come through, please hit the like button and raise the platform of this conversation on your social media in the world of YouTube and all about the place, kings and queens. Hit the like button. If you are not subscribed to gotkushTV, subscribe to gotkushTV. Check out our website, gotkushtv.co.uk. And finally, please, share this link far and wide. I know I say that to you every time we have a quarantine convos, but you must be aware that today we are going to be having a very, very, very important conversation. And so that particular message right there in terms of sharing the link is even more important today than it normally is. So we look forward to hearing from you throughout our show, kings and queens. Okay, right. As you know, we've been getting a lot of reports coming out of Nigeria. Sorry, kings and queens. Right. About what's going on in Nigeria, with the protests against an institution or an arm of the police force known as SARS, the special anti-robbery squad, of the Nigerian police force, kings and queens. All right, and so enough things are going on. We've been hearing a lot of reports, and the people appear to be rising up. And amidst the fact that we've had a whole heap of reports, a lot of the reports are confusing. We don't really know Wagwan exactly. We don't really know Wagwan exactly. We've got reports of one death at the hands of the military. Some are saying it's actually multiple deaths. It's actually a lot more than that. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to get some clarity right about now, kings and queens, not just on the events as they're happening, but political clarity. And there are a few people who are able to provide that more than our guest this evening. She is Auntie Affiong L of the Moyo Wataifa Pan-African Women's Solidarity Network, based in Nigeria and in Ghana and also London, UK, kings and queens. And we're going live to Nigeria right about now to speak to Auntie. The Auntie is a long-standing activist, in Nigeria from the student movement days, and so we're going to touch on that a little piece, because we have to understand that this is not a new situation, and the resistance to these situations such as these are not new either, and so let me welcome and say greetings to Auntie Affiong.
Yes, greetings, Shakara. Thank you so much, for having me on, and thank you for the continuity of the work that you do, and trying to help our people get deeper insight into our issues, and also, to advance our struggle.
Give thanks. I appreciate the compliment, Auntie, but I must say that I was born into a community of which you were a member. And so the continuity of the work is based upon the example that people like yourself have set. So I am very humbled by that compliment. And thank you, for joining us here today, because we understand what it means for you to be here, so we don't take it for granted. First of all, Auntie, I want to begin from the very basic foundation. And look, because many people may have been learned about what SARS is, but there may be some people that are not too up on exactly what the special anti-robbery squad of the Nigerian police is. So if you could explain what is SARS and what is its function in terms of the Nigerian police.
Okay, so let me just start by bringing warm revolutionary and Pan-African greetings from Moyo Wataifa Pan-African Women's Solidarity Network, and from the Moyo Pan-African Solidarity Center here. Yes, this is part of our work in terms of advocacy, and political education, and reaching out, to our people on, all sides of the Atlantic. So the special anti-robbery squad is what it says in the name. It's a special unit of the police force, and its work, its focus is to focus on anti-robbery issues and kidnapping issues. We have a lot of that. We have a lot of that. There's a lot of that in Nigeria. Issues of robbery and kidnapping because of the economic situation and just things going down. So they needed to create a special arm, apart from separate from the regular police. And so this is what, was created, the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. And that's what it was supposed to be. But then those who were supposed to be protecting us from robbers, then turned around and, became, the robbers themselves and, the kidnappers and extortionists. So that's where we are.
Right, right. And so I'm made to understand that this particular squad began in 1992. Yeah. And there's been issues with it since then. But because many people might get the impression that police brutality in Nigeria kind of started with SARS. Is that the case?
Well, of course not. Of course not. The question of police brutality, began, all the way from colonialism.
Right.
This is essentially still a colonial police force. It's a colonial police force in so many ways. First of all, remember, and let me just give a quick example of how they would use the police and the army. When the Ashantis in Ghana, rose up against the British in that war, because the Ashantis were defeating them there, they quickly got, both police and I think some, amount of army, they got fighting forces from Lagos, to quickly go over the Africans, African squads, to quickly go over there and, go and reinforce, the units in the then Gold Coast, and defeat our people there. So this is the work of the police, and this is all over the world. The police is an arm of the state, is of our police has been that it's our armed forces has been, that they view the citizenry, in a different way, really, from what, say imperialist armed forces view their own indigenous citizens, So the police here view us still as an external force. That's the mentality, that's the culture, that's where they've come from. And so, for example, on the continent, you still have the police living and operating like in the days of colonialism, meaning, for example, they live in a barracks. They live separate from the population, whereas comparatively, the police in the UK, for example, live in their own.
Sorry, you're cutting up for a second there, Auntie. Sorry, sorry, Auntie, you're cutting up for a second.
They actually live in the. Yeah. Okay, so I'm saying that. Yes, I heard you.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry,
you were saying that the police live separately. Yes.
Instead of with. Yes, they live separately. Yes, they live separate from the community here. They still live in barracks.
Right.
And they're cut off from the community. They're isolated from the community, and more importantly, they're alienated from the community. You see, so they're all brought out, like against the people. That's still the culture, even though they'll say things to the contrary. And then, apart from that, the barracks where they live. Oh my goodness, it's I mean, the only way to describe it, if I'm being very honest, it's like where the standards of living is so low. It's like a pigsty. It's like where animals live. It's terrible. And this is also a function of colonialism. That the criminals who colonized us never thought anything about the African members, of their, enforcement, class. So they have a very low level of living, low standard of living. Now that low standard of living is still continued even till today as we speak. So you have people living in terrible, degenerate accommodation. They are packed in, with their families, they just live barracks on top of each other. Their conditions of their pay, their salary, extremely low, unlike what you have in the West. And then you give these people guns. Yeah. Now, at the same time, you give them guns. they also watch and our House of Assembly, you know, our National Assembly, our legislature are the highest paid in the world. Can you imagine that? They are the senators here and the members of the House of Reps are much more paid. You know, they receive higher pay than the president, than the American Senate, than the British Senate, than all the. You have the police at the bottom end of society in terms of how much they're giving, and then you have them, you know, look at politicians who have the highest rate of living. So obviously they are also looking to make a living, you know. And who do they do? They turn against the masses, against the people. Those are the vulnerable people. So they're armed, they're lowly paid, and they live in a society where the ruling class is atrocious. So that's just you know, ticket for them to also do the same. And so they've been doing it right from day one, and nothing has ever happened to them. Yeah.
Auntie, I'm made to understand that SARS officers are paid about 5 times more than ordinary other officers in Nigeria. Is that the case?
I'm not 100% sure about that. It may well be the case, but I'm not sure about that. But you see, whatever it is clearly not enough for them. But you know, it's not so. The amount of pay I was referring to was of the regular police. You know, I'm not 100% sure about how much the SARS officers are paid. But what it is that they're a privileged force. So yes, I imagine they would be paid higher because they're like a crack unit. You know, but what it is here also is not just with the police, it's with the whole society there, and especially with the political class. There's a culture of impunity. You know, so people, even just if you have a quarrel, if you and I have a quarrel, I will threaten you that, you know, Shakara, I'm going to deal with you and nothing will happen. Now, what that means is that I can go to the police, give them money, and they will indeed come and arrest you. Now, if you happen to give them more money than if I gave them £500 and they come and arrest you, if you turn around and you give them £1,000, they'll come back and arrest me. You know, and you know, do whatever. So it's a culture about money, and it's also a culture of impunity. If somebody dies, nothing will happen, and a lot of times the police will tell you that I can kill you and nothing will happen, and that's exactly what will happen. Absolutely nothing. James Bond culture, you know. So this is what it is. And this is what has degenerated. So even if the SARS are a bit more paid, it's clearly not enough, but it's also the culture of impunity, you know, that facilitates their behavior and viewing the populace as enemies, so to speak, you know.
Right. All right. Well, let's put this into a little bit more context here. We're gonna go back in history a little bit and then come back forward, Auntie. Yeah. Now, you were involved, because in the student movement, right, in Nigeria from long time, right? So what has been the kinds of resistance that the people in Nigeria have developed against police brutality, against the brutality of the army and the government in general, from, let's say, just the 70s up until now?
Well, there's always been a culture, you know, in Nigeria, you know, of resistance. Pre-independence, it was really to do with labor, you know, the forces in organized labor. But after that, it was more to do with, you know, the students' movement. You know, it's been one of the most powerful movements. And when we had military rule, which we have, it's dominated our life, you know, our national life, have stood up, you know, to the state, you know, and we were so highly organized, you know, because of course students are in every part of the federation. So we have, and it's still the name, it's called the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS. At first, it's the NUNS, the National Union of Nigerian Students. When the authorities prescribed that, the norms, we then changed it to the National Association of Nigerian Students. And even when they prescribed it, we didn't bother anymore, because we said, look, the government did not set up the students' union, so the government cannot ban the students' union, which is what they banned all unions in the country. So at some point, you know, in my days when I was, you know, active in the student union. The labor unions were banned, and or student unions that continued. And so even though we remained underground, and we went on our campuses, we're still active, we didn't bother. And this was under military regimes. So we've always had a very vibrant culture. But you see, that was then, because the students then were highly politicized, in the sense of very political and very ideological. And because ideology gives you guidance, it guides you. There's a sense of history. You're not just behaving, you're not just behaving instinctively. You know that there's a reason for oppression. You understand the politics of oppression. You understand the character of oppression. Now, after my generation, unfortunately, there was a break, in the sense that the generation that came after, were not as politicized, as we were, or, did not have ideology as a weapon, So, it was mainly, instincts and stuff. So even some of the unions, when they would ban them, they would succumb to the banning, because people would say, well, if the government has banned you, well, go to court, behave properly, follow the law, and all this nonsense, in terms of being legalistic. But we never, struck to that. So we, like I said, our own philosophy was, if the government did not establish us as student unions, the government could not ban us. So it was in that spirit that we continued. Like I said, the generation after didn't have that. But one of the reasons why they didn't have that, let me quickly explain that, is that in order to attack our, high level of organization in my time, when we were young, and this is, we're talking about the 80s, throughout the 80s, yes. The government would now organize other students, so they would organize them as thugs to come and attack us, which is again what happened in this protest, and we'll get to that much later. So they began to organize cults. So you began to have cults, and so these cults, when you're having a student congress or a big student rally or thing, you just see other students armed, with machetes and things, just rush into the crowd and start to attack, student union formation. So this is how, and this is all organized.
Sorry, Auntie. We're losing you slightly.
It is just to break up, our spirit, and stuff. And history repeated itself last week. These organized thugs, by elements of the state, different elements. So anyway, so when that happened with the student unions, they then banned a lot of student unions. So this generation after us,
sorry, Auntie. We was catching you. You was guiding in and out. We was catching what you were saying. So we got up to when you were talking about, yes, they banned the students' union, and therefore a lot of the younger generations didn't grow up as ideologically trained. Yeah, as some of you all were. Yeah. So I totally understand. So then, in respect of that now, yeah, we have heard of some of the kinds of abuses, yeah, that SARS are responsible for. We've heard reports of basically beating people on streets, but we've also heard of premises, yeah, buildings and premises that are owned by SARS, whereby people can be tortured for days on end. And people can lose their life in these places, and nobody ever hears about them ever again. Are these reports true? And what other kinds of things have happened in Nigeria that SARS is responsible for in terms of brutalization of people?
Well, you see, it's not just, the point is that, it's not just the police,
Right.
the whole country has that culture of impunity in different things, you know, on level of business or politics. I mean, the politicians steal votes in broad daylight, you know, steal elections in broad daylight, you know. And so the police, you know, is just one arm. It's a reflection of the wider society. You know, so the police also look, you know, and think, well, you know, every other section is getting something extra. You know, we too need to get something. So that's why the SAG, for example, you know, because they were armed and on the streets, you know, they then began to really take things, you know, to another level, you know, because they were armed, you know, so they were macho guys, you know, and of course, but remember though, it's not such a one-sided story in the sense that there was a lot of robbery and kidnapping, which was the original reason for having them. So obviously, when they are dealing with robbers and kidnappers who are themselves very, very violent elements, you know, you then need a more than regular police force to deal with this kind of violent element in the society. You see, so, you know, so that becomes the culture, you know. And then, you know, here it's not like, you know, investigative tactics abroad. You know, they investigate by, you know, bashing the gun on your head, you know, for you to confess, and, you know, backwardness like that, you know, which is a very crude way of doing things. So I'm saying that, you know, when people are used to, you know, working with robbers, you know, armed robbers and kidnappers, so this is who they are meeting all the time. After a while, they begin to see everybody like that, you know, and so their focus, you know, is young guys, you know. So if you're a young, even like how you're dressed now, you know, you have the thing on your head, you know, you have locks, you know, immediately, you know, they'll pick you up, you know. So what do you do for a living and this and that? So that's how it started. You know, it didn't start as if, you know, they were just terrible, you know, people. And of course, as society got worse, you know, the level of armed robbery and kidnapping, because of the degenerate politics and because of the fact that Nigeria is a terrible neo-colonial state, terrible, you know, everything else degenerates. So this phenomena with SAG and the violence that the police unleashes is itself a manifestation of how deep we have sunk into neo-colonialism. Yeah.
Right. Yes, Auntie. To completely understand, kings and queens, where you're listening to Auntie Affiong in live from Nigeria. We're gonna get some perspective as to what is going on in Nigeria. But as always, as Auntie was saying, that, you know, when we're dealing with ideology, we can't just be reactionary. So we're putting it in a context, and Auntie has put that in the context of neo-colonialism, which we're going to get into a little bit later on. But we're just trying to flesh out exactly what is taking place on the ground right now. So we understand that at the beginning of October, you know, a young man was pulled out of an SUV, and apparently, you know, there's basically a video of his arrest went viral, and he was shot outside of a hotel, and things have basically escalated since then. Protests have kicked off until last week, where we heard reports, I believe it was last week Tuesday, of reports of shootings in Lagos, and at least one death. Now some are saying that there's even more deaths. But these deaths were at the hands of the army and not the police. So Auntie Affiong, what is the relationship between the army in Nigeria and the police in Nigeria?
Well, it was really a nightmare. The army had no business in this. You know, we have where do we start now? There's a group in the east of Nigeria, the Independent People of Biafra, IPOB. I hope that's correct. You know, Indigenous People of Biafra, I think. You know, that has been trying to secede. You know, so they, you know, so from time to time the army comes out. You know, they have the different codes, crocodile smile. You know, on like what do you say now? You know, they come out to do things.
So operations that they have. This one was Operation Crocodile.
Operations, and stuff. And when they do that, you know, like we say now, whenever the crocodile smiles, people die. So I mean, the state brings out the army when it feels there's a threat to internal security. Okay.
Right.
Now, coming back to this SARS protest, it was an extremely peaceful protest. And now we get to the analysis of the SARS protest itself. It was actually initiated by, you know, what you would call mainly middle class young people.
I was going to ask that, right?
Youth, okay. And where the place, you know, where they started organizing mainly, although it spread to other places, is in Lekki. That's the poshest part of the country. Okay, so these middle class children with or youth, young people, it's not like they're babies, young people, you know, we had all the celebrities, all the artists, rappers, this and that, you know, also going there, actors, actresses, you know. Now, let me see if I can jump down one bit, and I hope you can follow me.
I'm following you.
Yeah, 1 or 2 weeks before that. So let me say this now. Although this has been a youth thing, there are different levels and groups of youth.
Yes.
Before the SARS protest, there had been, let's say, the first level of group, of youth. So let's say youth group 1.
Right.
They had come out about 2 weeks, between 1 to 2 weeks before SARS kicked off, to protest about the general condition in the country. You know, hike in electricity, hike in fuel, you know, just the general, you know, state of the economy. This group youth of group 1 were a group of highly politicized and ideological youth. Okay. So, although I said earlier that, you know, this generation were not ideological, that's the vast majority of them, but there remains a section of them who are very ideological and, you know, so who are activists. Okay. So they had come long before SARS started. In fact, you know, they were the ones who kicked off, you know, this thing, and people must have heard of it. The hashtag was Revolution Now.
Right.
You know,
interesting.
The state also came out. Yes, the state also came out, you know, to crush, you know, that movement. So there was a group of ideological and activist youth who had come out much earlier. They came out in August last year, 2019. You know, all over the country. The state, you know, came out, you know, to crush them, but they're still out. So they had come out 2 weeks before the SARS protest, you know, started, to say, look, things in the country, you know, the state also came up to attack them, you know, dispersed all the rallies, arrested people, you know, beat people up, blah blah blah. Now at that point, you know, the socialite youth, group number 2, the middle class youth, did not come out onto the streets. Okay, because they did not, you know, they were not what's the word now, they didn't you know, align themselves with this ideological youth, you know, this activist youth. So anyway, so, you know, when the SARS thing kicked off, you know, because SARS, you know, I think somebody died or the attacks were just too much, and celebrities started saying, we need to speak out. And I think that, you know, they came out to speak out because this other ideological youth, you know, they had seen that these ones are coming out, you know, and they're doing things. So even though they didn't join, so they said, look, let's come out. So the middle class youth now came, but like I said, they are not necessarily political people, you know, they're more social people and stuff. But they came out, you know, they gathered courage and they said, you know, this has gone on for too long. We've been quiet for too long. Let's step out. And when they came out onto the streets, they came in their thousands because the celebrities and, you know, the stars and also, you know, they mobilized them. So, you know, people come out, you know. Now, when they came out onto the streets, they are so highly organized. You know, that even though they're not political, ideological, quote unquote, they were so organized, you know, they would organize their food, their water, their security, and every day after they finished, finished protesting, they would clean up after themselves. You know, they would clean the streets, you know, so it wasn't chaotic. And there wasn't a single incident of violence. They were on the streets for, I think, up to 10 days.
Okay.
Not single. And in fact, you know, during those days when they were on the streets, if somebody's phone got lost or your purse got lost, in crowds of thousands of people. Do you know that they would go and hand it back to the central, location area? This just tells you of the high level of organization.
Right.
Highly organized,
Understood.
self-organization. Now,
Understood.
they remind me of the Reclaim the Streets movement in the UK, and you know about them. That's how they attempted to. So then, all of a sudden, the governor of Lagos State, which is where which is the commercial capital, just on the same day at about 12 noon of the same day, he just declared. He said, "There's going to be a curfew today at 4 p.m." Everybody, just out of the blues, a curfew is something you give people time, for. He just declared it. Everybody thought, that's strange. That's really funny. 2 days before that, or 3 days before that, the army had said, "Oh, we're coming out onto the streets just for some general security." So everybody said, "No, the army has no business out on the streets for general security. That's the work of the police. Stay in the barracks because there isn't any problem. Why would you come out?" So they sort of backed down a bit because everybody, raised their voices against the army. Anyway, so now the governor of Lagos State, he just, in an emergency declared there's going to be a curfew in a few hours' time.
Right.
So the young people said, obviously, this is an attempt, to get us off the streets. So we're not going off the streets. We're still going to be here on the streets. This is our country. And what they had been doing on the streets was to block major central points, to bring the country, to slow down so that the government begins to take, to be attentive to them. So because, it was now spreading all over, the government began to say, okay, yeah, we'll do what you want. So then the government, their first demand was end SARS, which is the hashtag. So the government said, "Oh, wonderful, that's fine, we'll end SARS." Meanwhile, this is the 5th time the government has said they'll end SARS.
Yes. Go ahead.
So they said they'll end SARS. So they immediately we've banned, we've closed down SARS, and the new, and then we now form SWAT, special whatever, just like an insult on people's intelligence. Ban pineapple. Okay, we'll ban pineapples, and we'll bring papaya. So you must think we're stupid, don't you? You think we want you to name the same thing, So anyway, from the NSAS, they said, actually, we also want A, B, C, D. They had 5, demands and stuff. So anyway, so this government now declared a curfew and just gave a few hours notice. So the youth said, we're not going to be intimidated. We will remain on the streets. So they didn't go in during the curfew. So at 4 p.m., the curfew was around the time, rather, when the curfew was supposed to take effect. The governor.
Okay, Auntie, you've gone out. So we got the governor. So when you come back in, start back from the governor. Yeah, I hope you can hear me. Family, we're listening to.
PM.
Sorry, Auntie. Sorry. You went out at the point at which you said the governor. Yeah. So go back to where you said the governor. And please continue from there.
I'm saying the governor, like I said, he just declared a curfew and just gave a few hours notice, which is not something you do in a curfew. Yes. So everybody, spoke against that. They said, okay, we will extend it. So instead of everybody being off the streets by 4 p.m., we'll extend it to 5 more hours. You need to be off the street by 9 p.m. So the young people said, normally I think they would have been even off the street at that time anyway, because they would have the protest in the morning and finish, late in the evening. So the young people said, we're not obeying any curfew. We've come out, to make a point against the government. So we're going to be here on the streets, So they sat down, so they were sitting down, and then people started circulating messages because people were hearing that they're going to bring the army out, but nobody believed it. So people sent a message that if you hold a flag, if you're holding a flag in your hand, the army cannot shoot you. And young people, like I said, these are non-ideological young people. Leave everything, they see online. So they went and got thousands of flags. The political young people, the ideological young people would have known that was nonsense, that they would have understood that the military is an enforcement arm, of a neo-colonial state.
Yes, Auntie.
So they went and got flags and they started singing the national anthem.
Yes, we saw that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the military actually turned up.
Yeah.
And it's because these young people are not ideological. That's why they still thought, even if the military is turning up, we can be friends with them and sing anthems to them and wave flags at them, and it would matter. And it didn't matter.
Right.
So shooting occurred, and there was a DJ, a young woman, DJ Switch, I think her name is, who started filming and put it on her Instagram live.
Yes,
and it showed soldiers coming in and shooting, into the crowd. Now, what is interesting about this is that this group number 2 of young people, group 1 were the ideological people who demonstrated a week or 2 before.
Yeah.
Group 2 is now middle class youth.
Yes,
who are not ideological but are very organized, very articulate, of course, highly educated, very urban, but no ideology. So the shock when bullets started to, they started hearing bullets. Some of them still sat down.
Yes.
That's safer to do, to sit down. So the bullets go over you. And anyway, tragedy. So obviously people were killed. Obviously. A lot of people were rushed, to hospital. And then there were some tapes apparently where people were actually trying to remove bullets, from their friends' bodies. Just horrible things.
Do we know the numbers of people that died? Because we hear that the governor said that one person died, but then there are others that say that there's no, and then we're hearing that 25 or something like that people were injured. So do we know the numbers yet?
Right now, we don't have any definite numbers. What we know now, first of all, the governor said nobody died. Then after, he was forced to change his mind and said, okay, one person died. And then after, I said 2 people died. Okay. Now, the military itself came out. Their first reaction was that there was no military presence at that gathering, that the military they were not there. Now, I don't know if they hadn't seen the live feed, and remember that the army is made up of much older people. They're from another generation and maybe another planet. The power that young people have, which a lot of people can't relate to, is the power of social media. And, for young people, social media is like their own weapon, which the other generations are not able to, understand. So the chief of army staff said there was absolutely no military presence there. Then when he saw the videos, he then said, oh, those are just photoshopped stuff. But you see, they don't understand what a live feed is,
Right.
So when the young people then pointed out, because this young woman who was filming, I think some other 2 people were filming, so they were able to even go near some of the leader of the somebody who came in to sort of supervise the soldiers. So they were able to get a name and say, so and so officer is the one who led this battalion. So when she put that name out, you trust young people, they went and fished out his photograph. This is the next day, fished out his photograph and the photograph of his family. So they had this picture of him and his wife and his children and flooded it around social media. This is the guy who commanded the shooting. So because of that, he was so shocked. He then, remember that the chief of army staff, the highest person, has come out to say there was absolutely not a single soldier at that shooting yesterday. So this other guy now had to come out and say, yes, I came to the place, but I only came there because I heard that a battalion had come there and I knew that soldiers were not supposed to be there. So I came to sort of bring them back. And I was only announcing, so he was announcing his name. This is so and so, in order to let them know that, he was a superior officer and for them not to shoot at him. So now there are 2 stories from the army. He now says that, and the only reason why they got his name, because they heard him Kara, don't shoot. That's how they got his name and were able to get his photograph. So he then explained that I'm not the one who led these guys. I'm too senior, to do that. That it is so and so. He named another commander who actually led them. So now we have another in the fray. So this is somebody from the army saying, yes, I was there, but I was there to make sure things did not get out of hand. Meanwhile, the chief of army says there was no soldier. So as the lies begin to unravel, the young people said that for the when they would shoot and people would die, that they would see people were dead, that some of them would carry the dead bodies and go and put them at the feet of the soldiers. It's like a thing that this is what you've come to do, so these are the bodies, because they said that the soldiers were also stopping the ambulances from coming in to pick the bodies. So these young people who were there on the scene said the soldiers carried a lot of dead bodies away from the scene. Okay. Now remember that bullets are flying around, so obviously, nobody is thinking, oh, why is anybody carrying, so these are all the claims. But the young people have video evidence of the shooting, the soldiers, and all of this. So now the army is in a quandary, because the young people have video evidence. So then the point is, but you see, as everybody knows, the army never comes out. The army, they don't just wake up in the morning and come out on the streets. They can only come out through an order. So who ordered the army onto the streets? Now, legally and constitutionally, the only person who can give an order for the army to come out is the president, because he's the commander in chief.
Understood.
So, yes. So then the governor of Lagos State, who is a civilian, he said, oh no, I don't know how the army got there. We have to look into this. I don't know anything, about that. And So when the governor said that, the army then decided to come out and say, actually, it was the governor who invited us. So the army, so they've changed their story from we were never there.
Yes.
We don't know what happened. So after a while, people began to ask, maybe the army guys who came were from another country, because that's another possibility. Maybe they're from another country,
But Auntie, I was watching a news report from a channel called Channels Television, and there was a guy whose name I'm forgetting, Ahmed Jibrin, who was basically saying that it was a coincidence. Because basically Operation Crocodile Smile happened to coincide with the time of the protest. So it was the army was pre-organized to be there at that time. You know what I'm saying? At that place.
No. And even though I mentioned that earlier, that they had said they would come out. Everybody said, no, you can't come out. There's no reason to come out. They said they're coming out to fight cyber crime. You don't come onto the streets to fight cyber crime. You do that, in-house, so to speak. So really, the army had no business there. That was the police issue. Yes, the army has no business coming to man a protest. Anyway, so so the army then said, actually, it was the governor that invited us. So the governor was now forced to say, we just said, the lies started unraveling themselves, as to who invited who. And, so then the governor had to agree that, oh, well, we wanted to. But more importantly, before the army arrived, they removed cameras. That place is like a very central place. There's a toll gate there, so cars from one part to another part. So they came and they removed cameras. So, remember that the young people, the young people, they're just interesting. They were able to film the guy as the who removed the cameras, with the cameras in his hand, really, interest. So they have that, they have that, that evidence.
Okay.
So they removed the cameras, and then they switched the lights off.
Right.
And about 15 minutes later, the soldiers arrived.
Right.
You see? You can see that everything is premeditated.
Yeah, coordinated, definitely. Yeah.
And coordinated, highly coordinated. So so they've been going back and forth, blaming who. So now moving on now to the next day. So these young people, group 2, you know, who are not ideological, they were so shocked, you know, that they were actually their own soldiers from their own country would actually shoot at them. So, you know, those people who didn't die, they were traumatized. They saw bullets, they heard bullets, they saw blood, they rushed friends, you know, they ran away. There was a stampede. You know, this is something they've never ever been involved in their lives, as opposed to activist young people who would have been involved in this kind of stuff, you know, and the worst of it was happening to them overnight. So you can imagine the amount of shock and trauma, because you also, you Shakara, you're an activist. You know that being an activist means you've been doing things over the years, for years and years. So there are lots of things you know, and you know, you have at your fingertips. These young people, this is not the kind of stuff they had ever done. And then overnight, you know, they are confronted with the violence of the state. So they must have been so traumatized. You know? So anyway, so now the next morning, there's all these things, you know, being shot at and all this violence. So the next morning, before then, the government in other parts of the country, they are now sending thugs in. So you would see thugs arriving in jeeps. Black jeeps, black SUVs. These SUVs are cars either used by the state security services or used by senators. You know, these are posh cars by officialdom, and these are official cars. They're not private cars. So when you see armed thugs, you know, they'll come and drop them. You know, they'll drop them off in a corner, so they'll quickly get out of the car and then run, you know, to the next, to go and attack the protesters. And then at an agreed time, you see them rushing back in, getting into the cars, and the cars are driving them away. But remember, there are cameras and phones everywhere. So other people were able to catch this tape to say, oh my God, look at the thugs who are going to attack the protesters. You know, they are coming in jeeps and SUVs, you see. And you know, thugs, real thugs have no SUVs and jeeps. So these are officially recruited people.
I'm sorry, not to cut you, Auntie. Yeah, I did hear something earlier today, which was an attempt to, well, it seemed to be an attempt to justify some of the actions of the police. Was that there's a big issue of fraud, and so when the police see young people in big car, they believe that they're fraudsters, right? So there's that dynamic in the situation. I don't know where that fits into the dynamic, but if it doesn't, let me know. Yeah, you know.
No. The issue of fraudsters, that was the reason that the SARS would take for harassing the young people. You know, I'm now talking of the protest itself.
Yes, I understand.
I'm talking of the protest itself. So I'm saying these Porsche cars, these are official. Yes, they are not colored cars. They are black cars, tinted windows, official cars. Right. But this is organized violence, so to speak. Okay. So there's that incidence, you know. So by the next day, when the whole country saw that the young people had been attacked, group number 3 of youth then came onto the streets. Now, remember that group number 2, this is middle class youth. They've been behaving properly, you know, waving flags, chanting, singing, doing selfies, tweeting, watching films, you know, but they're in their thousands, you know. So this next group, obviously, these are now, you know, working class people, or, you know, less privileged people, you know, all of these things that the earlier now, so the group number 2 are what you call the protesting. They have behaved properly, quote unquote. Group number 3 comes out onto the state, would attack citizens. You see, so they now, and that is when society then begins to degenerate into violence. Because the violence now starts. You know, they're attacking policemen. You know, they're attacking police stations. You know, just all the symbols of the state. Hello, young people. You see, so you begin to have all these, uncoordinated, sporadic acts of violence, just flaring up all of the attack from the army.
That's right. So that's when the burning started.
And so even though, so you have that, and then yes, that's when the burning started, and the attacks, they're attacking police, although it was the army that shot, it wasn't even the police.
Yes.
But of course, nobody, army barracks are not places where anybody sees. Army barracks are far away, from regular society. Yes. But the police stations are around, you can see the police stations, so they have more access to the police. And of course, people what do you say now, it's the police that you see, so they begin to attack policemen, begin to attack police stations, and stuff like that.
Yes.
Now, so there's all this violence because of all the shock and the trauma of the attack. Now then, even after these ones that are attacking, then
okay, sorry, Auntie, you dropped out again, and we got even after the ones that are attacking. Yeah, so when you come back in, start from there. So you said even the ones that are attacking, start from there. Kings and Queens, you're listening to Auntie Affiong live from Nigeria, who's given us some excellent insight into what's happening on the ground. Yeah. I hope you fully appreciate what is going on here. Do you know what I'm saying? And the information that you're getting, you're not only going to get information, but you're going to get historical and political context. Okay, so do stay tuned. We're going to be opening up for you to come and converse and ask your own questions shortly. Brother Kwame Obwaji, I've seen your question, and you've preempted the question I was going to ask, so stay tuned. Auntie Affiong, you back with us? Right, Auntie has dropped off, so we'll wait for a bit for Auntie to get back. About Kings and Queens, like the video as you come through, and please share the link far and wide. Yeah, this is an international issue, so share it far and wide. Do all of your family them, do all of your friend them. Yeah, Auntie has been giving us some very, very important information regarding what has been taking place on the ground in Nigeria, and some very important perspective. Yeah, and so I hope ones are appreciating this. We're going to get to the 5 demands of NSAS. We're going to get to the petition that you've all seen. You know what I'm saying? Well, some of you have seen anyway, Lord. But it's very serious, Kings and Queens, what I go on right about now. And I mean, yeah, it's heart-wrenching when you hear these stories, It's heart-wrenching when you hear these stories. But I do hope, you know what I'm saying, that ones are appreciative of what Auntie has said in terms of developing a ideological training, so that we're prepared for incidents such as these. Yamaya, that is a beautiful question. When Prakara, please, when will you be interviewing Seun Kuti? I would love to interview Seun Kuti. Seun Kuti is one of my favorite artists in the world. And so I will try to make that happen. And my brother or sister, if you have a link to brother Seun, please, let us know. Put us in tune, and we'll definitely make that happen. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. And big up to Seun Kuti, because he's been out there on the streets. And it's funny, it's funny. Everybody run. Everybody scatter. Some people lost some bread. Someone nearly die. Someone just die. Police they come, army they come. Confusion everywhere. 7 minutes later, all done cool down, brother. Police don't go away. Army done disappear. Them leave sorrow, tears and blood. Fela Kuti, Kings and Queens, 1979. Sorry, 1977, I believe that song came out. And it's very interesting, that when this thing first kicked off, I said, if you want to know what's going on in Nigeria, we could listen to a Fela Kuti song from the 1970s and almost get an exact report. Yeah, if we go to the 1980s, we'll get almost an exact report down to the president that is currently in power. That's the madness of the situation. That is the levels of the madness of the situation, Kings and Queens. Yeah, that this history keeps repeating itself because our nations, majority black nations around the world, whether they be in Africa or the Caribbean, are run under systems of neocolonialism. So the police, and we're gonna touch on this, yeah. But the police, for us touching it already, because the nations are run under neo-colonial states. The police and the army are not protecting the nation; they're protecting the interests of foreign nations, yeah, from the people. That's foreign interests, foreign corporations, yeah, their interests are being protected. Right, so the people are being harassed in that context. We're still waiting for Auntie Affiong to get back. Her, yep. I've just got a message saying that Auntie trying to get back on, so I'm yet to see her in the back, but we'll as soon as she gets back on, people will get her on. Bigging up to and SAR events of up there in Birmingham. Thanks for joining us. My sister in Manchester is about. You get me? Bigging up to Miata and the entire the African Pot Collective. You done know. Big up yourselves over there in Manchester. I know, so we can't big up the Queen without big up the King still. So big up Luke. You done know, and all these things. All right. Yeah, Kings and Queens. So for those who are just joining us, yeah, Auntie Affiong dropped off. The internet connection dropped about 2-3 minutes ago, so we're just waiting for her to rejoin us, but she has been giving us a whole heap of perspective on what has been taking place in Nigeria. She's gone into the first wave of the protests, which began with youth who are very highly politicized in terms of Pan-African politics, yeah, and that was before most of us would have heard about it. Then most of us heard about it and the second wave, where youths who are not necessarily politicized, but were responding, yeah, to the video of a death of a young man in the Delta state, came out onto the streets, and that second group of youth, yeah, are the ones who faced the bullets of the army last week, yeah, and were shocked and surprised because they're not used to activism like that. You know what I'm saying? Then now after that, a third set of youth came out, which were just basically frustrated with the situation. Probably people that are used to not necessarily politicized, yeah, but are used to the attacks, yeah, from the police, and they just began to react, yes, with attacking police and property and them kind of things there. So that's when the burnings began and all of these things. Bringing up brother Kwame Obuaje says, brother Tafaz, well, you and I know our soldiers and police in Nigeria and our land as a whole are misguided by Western influence. Most definitely. But interestingly and importantly, Auntie Affiong was saying that when you look at how, because the army and the police act at the behest of the politicians, yeah. When you look at she was saying that at the beginning of our conversation, because some of you may have missed this, right? But it's a very important context that when you look at the police generally live in barracks, yeah, that are separated from the community at large. So there's a separation, a divide between the police as an institution and the people that are in the police and the community in general. But also when you look at the living conditions of these police and army barracks, yeah, they're generally very low condition. The police are underpaid. They're very, very poorly paid, while the politicians are some of the highest paid politicians in the world. Yeah. So, there's Bounty Killer, yeah, the warlord, yeah, dancehall artist, has a song called Petty Thief, yeah, where he says, yeah, him have the line, how you for send out frustrated police, figure try keep the peace when the violence increase, yeah. And so there's a situation in which, people that are economically poor find a way into the police force to get some sustainability in terms of their living conditions, yeah, and are basically, underpaid, yeah, and overworked, right, and them kind of things there. And so this recipe, yeah, within the context of poverty, within the context of lack of resources, lack of infrastructure, creates, a situation of dysfunction. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we're not excusing the behavior, but we have to understand it in the context of, just as much as we understand the fact that basically the the SARS, yeah, the Special Anti-Robbery Squad was created because of a situation of robbery, because of a situation of kidnapping that was taking place in certain areas. We're not excusing it, but we have to understand it within the context of the political and economic situation. Kings and queens, we're waiting for Auntie Affiong to get back with us. If I know my auntie, she's trying her best, so we shall wait. In the meantime, I was going to open up the conversation to you all now, yeah? So I am going to just say to post your questions. I've got one last question before I had a few more, but for the sake of time, I'll ask one more, and then we're going to open up the conversation. So I'm going to be sharing the link very shortly, yeah? I'm going to be sharing the link very shortly. So if you want to come live and ask Auntie Affiong a question, feel free to do so once I share the link. But if you have a question that you just want to share in the chat, post that right now, yeah? Get that in right now, as Brother Kwame Abuaji has done. Big up to all the people that watching on Facebook. Big up to the people that watching on Facebook. Please share it, yeah? Share it far and wide, yeah? This is, and I'm not just saying it because it's on gotkushTV, but this is one of the most important conversations that you're going to hear around this specific issue about NSARS, end oppression, what is happening in Nigeria right about now. Because the activist who we have breaking it down for you is extremely astute, yeah? This is our auntie who has been in it for decades, okay? For decades, all right? And so she understands what she's talking about. This is one of the most well-versed, critical political analyst that I've ever come across in my life. All right. So I want you to appreciate the caliber of the mind that is speaking to you over the airways right about now, the World Wide Web right about now, kings and queens. All right. So Auntie is still trying to get on. Yeah, post the questions, please. Post your questions. I was going to ask Auntie Affiong about the demands, yeah, of NSARS and how we should respond to this, yeah, because coming out of this, there has also been a call for the British government to implement sanctions against the Nigerian government, and so we're gonna get Auntie Affiong's appraisal of that situation, yeah. And it says that the 5 demands from since the 11th of October are immediate release of all arrested protesters, justice for all deceased victims of police brutality and appropriate compensation for their families, setting up an independent body to oversee the investigation and prosecution, of all reports of police misconduct within 10 days. In line with the new Police Act, psychological evaluation and retraining to be confirmed by an independent body of all disbanded SARS officers before they can be redeployed. And finally, increase police salary so that they are adequately compensated for protecting lives and property of citizens, yeah, which, you know, seems like all reasonable stuff, right? You know, so we're gonna get Auntie Affiong's appraisal of how the politicians have reacted to this. And then for those of us who they are England right now, for we who they are England, yeah, what do we think? We saw many of our artists, I believe Burna Boy shared this petition. I understand that Wizkid and Davido also shared it. Petition, implement sanctions against the Nigerian government and officials. This is a petition on petition.parliament.uk calling on the British government to enact sanctions against the Nigerian government in relation to police brutality in Nigeria. Yeah. And so we're going to get Auntie Affiong's appraisal of that situation because that is very important. And we're hoping, yeah, that, you know, it's just the Digicel or the Like Hotel that has dropped out because we don't want no COINTELPRO, no CIA, you know what I'm saying? The MI6, I try shake up the transmission, you know, see it? Because we know so them things go on. Yeah, we know so them I watch it. You know what I mean? Kings and queens, all right? So we're hoping that Auntie Affiong is good and well, yeah, and able to come true. Para says this is a global problems. I agree. Brother Kwame says, African people ought to know that our leaders that we have now are out of touch and only interested in benefiting for the West. And I'm sure that my colleague sister, I'm sure that message is not quite complete, so we'll get the rest of it in a second. Yamaya says, NSAR's protest made a ripple effect across the continent. Wish it lasted longer to make more impact. That's a very interesting one, you know, because yes, we do know, yeah, and having been to Ghana, yeah, there's some issues, yeah, in Ghana with the police force, but there's issues with the police and the army around all of our black nations, you know, in Africa and the Caribbean. There's almost nowhere where the community has a good relationship with the police and the police brutality is not taking place. Yeah, there's almost nowhere where the army is not deployed as an extension of the police force. When have you ever heard, yes, the armies of majority black nations deployed to other nations to protect the people of their nation? Yes, or deployed within their nation to protect the people of their nation. Yeah, very few times that ever happens, and when it does happen, it's usually like a situation like in Rwanda, where the Rwandan army was put up by the American government to invade Congo and create civil unrest for the sake of protecting their mineral interests in Central Africa. Yeah. So we have to look at all of these things, kings and queens. If you just joined us, we're just awaiting the return of Auntie Affiong, whose connection dropped in the midst of our conversation. You know, and so we're just waiting for waiting for Auntie to be able to get back on. Yeah. Okay, so I'm getting a message. Auntie's very much still trying. So yeah, we're gonna hold on, kings and queens. One of my favorite albums ever in life is by the Sounds of Blackness, called The Journey of the Drum, and they got a song they called Hold On Just a Little While Longer. So I ask you to hold on right now, kings and queens. Hold on, yeah. And while you're holding on, share the link far and wide, kings and queens. Share the link far and wide. Like the video as you come through. Yeah, let me check how much likes are actually on this video though, because right now, yeah, I should be seeing plenty likes on that video, yeah, because there's plenty people watching. All right, so let me see how much likes is on the video. Yeah, and if I'm disappointed, I'm gonna be making some requests. All right, okay, that's reasonable. No, hold on. Sorry, I'm watching the wrong thing. Family, there's over 40 people watching, and there's 29 likes here. So let's get them likes up, kings and queens. Let's get them likes up. Liking the video helps to raise the profile of the video in the land of YouTube. All right. So hit the like button if you have not done so already. If you are not subscribed to gotkushTV, subscribe to gotkushTV, and also check out our website, gotkushtv.co.uk. Yeah, and shout out to our mailing list, kings and queens. All right, it's going to be major in the coming months. We've got a lot going on. There's a few things here that I'm not even allowed to talk about right about now in terms of gotkushTV, but just to say, yeah, just putting it out there. You heard it here first. There's some big things going on we have a show called Voyage to Motherland, yeah, and so there's some big things going on with our connection to the motherland right about now. So do check that out. And thanking you for those who are raising up the likes on the video right about now. We appreciate you. We encourage more of you to do the same. All right, we can encourage more of you to do the same. We are going to talk to Auntie Affiong about where this situation lies in relation to the issues in the Niger Delta. Brother Kwame was asking about how this relates to the oil situation in Nigeria. Yeah, now bearing in mind, yeah, that the shooting of the young man at the beginning of October, yeah, that was captured on film, happened in the Delta State, which is the most oil-rich region of Nigeria. And there has been a movement for justice in the Delta region, supported by Pan-Africanists around the world, because it is well known that human rights abuses have been taking place in the Delta for decades, because foreign corporations like Shell and BP and Chevron and ExxonMobil are there, running pipelines over people's land, destroying their ecology, yes, destroying their environment, and making the environment unsafe for our brothers and sisters who live in the Delta. Yeah, and so this has been an ongoing issue. There's been many, many freedom movements, and unfortunately, because of the conditions of neocolonialism, the police and the army have been regularly deployed against our activist brothers and sisters in the Delta in protection of the property of Chevron, Shell, BP, ExxonMobil, and others. And so we're going to be talking to Auntie Affiong about that also. Yeah, so stay tuned for that, kings and queens. Do get your questions in. Do get your questions in. It is necessary for you to do that because I don't know how much time we're going to have with Auntie here. So as many as I get in, I'll try to get as many of them in as possible. But thank you for joining us, kings and queens. Auntie is trying her very best. Auntie Affiong trying her very best to get back to continue her excellent breakdown of the situation. Yeah. And if you're listening right about now and you've got to hear some of her explanation, just let me know. Yeah, what has stood out to you. Right. Let me know. Just type it in the chat right now. What has stood out to you, kings and queens? Yeah. You know what I'm saying in terms of what Auntie Affiong has shared thus far, just so I can gauge what you've understood from the conversation. Want to encourage ones and ones, yeah, to check out the latest episode of our discussion and debate show, Decipher. Yeah, you would have seen the trailer, yeah, for Decipher at the beginning of the show. So check that out, kings and queens. Check it out. Yeah, the subject of our latest episode is: do we need less Top Boy and more something else? It's a very beautiful conversation with some very beautiful young Africans. Yeah, so do check that out. You know what I'm saying? You know, and maybe in a sec I'll drop the trailer for you again. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, very, very important. This is important what we're doing right now, kings and queens. Very important that we're able to connect with Africans around the world on the ground. Yeah. And as was said earlier, this movement is affecting the entire continent. Yeah, big up to our brothers and sisters in South Africa who are in the midst of a serious activism movement, you know what I'm saying, of land reclamation and these kinds of things. And the beautiful thing about what Auntie Affiong has presented to us today is that she has not confined it to the issue of police brutality. She's really put it in the context of the political economic situation in Nigeria in general. And so we're going to feast more on that wisdom as soon as Auntie is able to restore her connection and get back on. I keep repeating that because I know that there are people joining us, new people joining us every minute. Yeah. So as good looking as I am and as articulate as I am, they didn't come to hear me. Yeah, they came to hear Auntie Affiong. So I just want to make people aware that Auntie Affiong was here, and she has dropped off. Her connection dropped off, but she's fighting to get back on at the moment, and so we're just awaiting for that to take place, kings and queens. So do stay tuned. Yeah, do stay tuned. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this name correctly, but anyway, the Nigerian middle class keeps saying that they are going to vote out these corrupt leaders out of office in 2023 as the solution, but this same middle class are not the majority. The Nigerian middle class, that's a repeat comment right there. Yeah, so we see a repeat comment. Well, Kwame says, sorry to Fazwa, I've written by the way, for those who are not aware, Tafadzwa is my first name. Yeah, I just realized that you may not know that. I have written my correction that I'm sure that Sister Affiong agrees with me, and that the oil industry in Nigeria is targeted. And you know, I'm hearing some different things, yeah, about that. But I'll ask Auntie when she gets back about the organized resistance to the oil that I've seen or heard of in relation to this situation. James O is asking me Trump or Biden. My answer to that question is Malcolm X. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense. All right. Will Biafra rise again? That is an interesting question. The the indigenous peoples, the movement among the indigenous peoples of Biafra was mentioned earlier. So once Auntie Affiong gets back, we will ask her that question. What's it? Kwame says, James, the Satam has more of a chance than okay, the fox or the wolf, it looks like. Yeah, so yeah, Brother Kwame is invoking the analogy of Omawale Malcolm X, yeah, in relation to the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Yeah, the Republican Party being the fox and the Democratic Party being the wolf. And he says, sorry, the Republican Party being the wolf and the Democratic Party being the fox. And he says, whichever one you choose, you end up in the doghouse. Yeah, digging up Sister Shola, I do appreciate that. I do appreciate that. Hotep to you, my brother or sister Guada 9. Welcome to the thing. Right, family, once again, announcement for those who may be just joining us. We are speaking to Auntie Affiong L. Affiong of Moyo Wataifa Pan-African Women's Solidarity Network, live from Nigeria. She has been breaking down the situation in Nigeria to us. Her connection has dropped, yeah. And so we're just awaiting, and we have it on good information from Auntie Injeri, who is another member of the Moyo Wataifa Pan-African Women's Solidarity Network, that she is diligently trying to get back on so she can continue to speak to us, kings and queens. So do stay tuned, yeah, whilst we make that happen. It's one of the issues that we have, you will see in our gotkushTV videos that we had the pleasure of hosting our brother Kemi Seba, yeah, who currently resides in Benin and has basically been at the helm with his organization Agence Pan-Africaniste, or to translate into English, Pan-African Emergencies, at the helm of challenging French neocolonialism, particularly as it manifests in the existence of the CFA franc, yeah, the French currency, which was basically instituted, when during the anti-colonial era, when France was trying to hold on to its colonial possessions, quote unquote, these criminals. And they cajoled a number of African nations into signing a pact for the continuation of colonization. And a part of that was the CFA franc, which has some 13, 14 African nations today currently depositing up to 60%, yeah? And it used to be more than that, of their national foreign reserves into the French central bank. And if they want to use that money, they have to apply for a loan. Yes? To get their own money back from the French, all right? And so the currency in many of these French-speaking African nations is actually controlled, yeah, and attached to the French euro. It's printed in France, yeah, and these kinds of things. And so Brother Kemi Seba and Agence Pan-Africaniste have been developing a movement against, yeah, that particular policy. And that movement has engulfed, yeah, so-called French-speaking Africa, West and Central, and so it's very interesting that. But whenever we holler at him, yeah, because we're gonna get him back on gotkushTV a couple of times, and one of the major issues is good internet, yeah, especially for live broadcasts. It requires you to have a certain level of bandwidth, and sometimes, as if Auntie Affiong, I should have announced this earlier, that the reason why you're not seeing Auntie Affiong on video, you're only seeing her audio, is because the internet connection, may not be able to sustain that situation. However, we are seeing more and more companies like Vodafone, yeah, and Digicel, yeah, and all of these companies dominating telecom, yeah, services across the African continent, and all these NGOs and charities that are going there, to the Africa and the Caribbean, trying to institute, super fast broadband, yeah, all over the place. And I know we still can't get good connections, but it's very interesting, yeah, that these foreign companies are so interested in Africa and Caribbean communication, whilst institutions like the IMF and the World Bank do their best to keep African infrastructural and industrial development at an all-time low. So we're going into the digital age, yeah, before we have developed into the industrial age, which is very interesting. And imagine a Chinese company controlled all of British telecommunications services. Like, imagine that. Would Britain allow that to happen? Yeah, imagine China come and China owns British Telecom. Imagine that. Imagine that. Big up M.A. Brown. Better late than never. No problems, my king. Auntie Affiong dropped off. Yeah, so we're just getting her back. We're fighting to get her back. We understand that she's trying to get back on Kings and Queens. Yeah, so do stay tuned. All right. I want to know. To reiterate, yeah, when Auntie Affiong gets back, we're going to be asking some questions from you all. All right. To get your questions in, is there anything that you have been confused about, yeah, since the information of the NSARS movement has developed that you would like to know? Please let us know, and we will ask Auntie Affiong. I'm going to be sharing the link in a second. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to share the link right now. Yeah, I am going to share the link right now, and anybody who wants to come through can come through. Yeah, just know that when Auntie Affiong comes back, all conversation will stop until we've got through what she needs to get through, and then we'll come back to the conversations with you all. All right. So if you want to come through and speak, Kings and Queens, the link is in the chat right about now. Whilst we await the re-arrival of Auntie Affiong, who was breaking it down so beautifully, you know, and that's why we have to, you know, when I talk about the people then running our telecom services, you know, we have to bear in mind so that them, you know, all these devices that we have here, them have the keys to the device, you know, them can lock it off when they want to lock it off, you know. Why you know that? Yeah. Imani Sasor says, Jambo, brother Shakara. It was an excellent explanation by Mama Affiong that the young were able to outmaneuver the state using social media to get the truth and expose the lies. Yes, indeed, that was very interesting. Very, very interesting. Auntie Affiong's analysis has been excellent thus far. Very, very excellent thus far, Kings and Queens. Yeah, the link is in the chat if you would like to come through. Yeah, the link is in the chat. Yeah, family. The link is in the chat. So if you want to come through, say a word. You know, illuminate some of the information that you have gotten, yeah, on the situation in Nigeria right about now. Just extemporize on anything that Auntie Affiong has said. Share what, you know, has enlightened you about what Auntie Affiong has said. Feel free to do so. We are just awaiting the re-arrival of Auntie Affiong, whose connection dropped off a while ago, Kings and Queens. So the link is in the chat. So when Auntie Affiong comes back, I will, you know, pause whatever conversations that we may be engaged in at that time for the sake of you know, allowing Auntie to finish you know, going through her analysis, ask her one question, and then we'll come back to the audience. You know what I'm saying, Kings and Queens. So do stay tuned, yeah, for all of these things. All right, the link is in the chat where you see join the conversation. Click that link and you will be able to come through. I am going to, in the meantime, yeah, play a couple minutes, yeah, from a message from Auntie Affiong, so we can get some more Auntie Affiong vibrations in the conversation right about now, Kings and Queens. So do stay tuned. All right. So yeah, and then right, 1 second before we do that, brother MA.
Yes, greetings. Good evening. Wagwan.
Yes, bro. You're good.
Yes, not too bad. Not too bad. I had one. I'm gonna have to rewind this thing and kind of and listen.
Yeah, bro. It's been a beautiful explanation so far. Trust.
But one brother, I think you know him as well, who's in Nigeria at the moment. He put up one status a few days ago, and it reads, "Please, UK, US, Euro-based friends, please do not sign or share any petitions asking for sanctions against Nigeria. The economic situation and outlook in Nigeria, in light of both COVID and the loss of oil revenue, is quite bad at the moment, and sanctions will only worsen the situation. Man, them are hungry, and any sanctions will only make us hungrier. Also, our healthcare industry is a basket case on a good day. Sanctions will only make it worse. Nigeria is a banana republic. most things don't work here. You all may want to consider at the things like targeting visa bans against top officials, freezing of bank accounts of specific individuals, etc., etc. Yeah, so that's, I just wanted to make that comment on what you think about that, and I want Auntie Affiong to actually respond to that as well. But yeah.
Yeah, no. Yeah, and that's actually basically getting my last question before I open up the chat. It's just that Auntie Affiong dropped off just before. So yeah, so stay tuned. Yeah, I've got the petitions up. We're going to talk about that. You know, we're going to talk about the Niger Delta, and the freedom fighters in the Niger Delta, and them kind of things there. People were asking how this relates to that. This has sent ripples across Africa, and I was kind of highlighting the fact that, you know, when you look at armies and how they're deployed, yeah, more often than not, when it comes to majority black nations, they're deployed against the citizenry, or but at the behest of a foreign nation like America against other African nations. Yeah, for example, what happened between Rwanda and the Congo. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, and the manipulation there. You know what I'm saying, and these it's a mad situation, you know, that we're in at the moment. That is all related to, we cannot look at NSARS in isolation of the general political system. Yeah, the infrastructure in our nations, how the nations are made up, and them kind of things. They're kings and queens, you know. So yeah, but who did you say shared that that particular post?
I'll link you to him because he's on your page as well still. But yeah.
All right, give thanks, bro. Right, we got Auntie Affiong back, so I'm gonna drop you back in the back chat, brother MA. Yeah, and we'll get you back in a sec. All right. All right. Great, Auntie, you back?
Shakara. Yes, but
Auntie.
I don't think it's going to hold out. I don't think it's going to hold out. You know, I don't think, you know, and yeah, I just wanted you to know. I'm sorry about it.
No
but
problem,
I'll still be here until it takes me out.
Right. Okay, Auntie. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's kind of fast forward then, yeah, because I want to ask you about the demands, yeah, and how the government have responded to the demands from the NSARS movement, yeah. The 5 demands are the immediate release of all arrested protesters, justice for all deceased victims of police brutality and appropriate compensation for their families, setting up an independent body to oversee the investigation and prosecution of all reports of police misconduct within 10 days. 4, in line with the new police act, psychological evaluation and retraining to be confirmed by an independent body of all disbanded SARS officers before they can be redeployed. And 5, increase police salary so that they are adequately compensated for protecting lives and property of citizens. So those are the 5 demands as of the 11th of October from the NSARS movement. How has the government from your... Oh, Auntie dropped off again. Well, she did say kings and queens. She did say, yeah, you can see that we're trying. All right, you can see that we are trying. Yes, you can see that we're trying. So I feel like I'm just gonna let her talk. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't ask no questions, just let her talk. Yeah. But yeah, family, you know, we do have to work these things out. We apologize, kings and queens, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Yeah, it is what it is. You know, apparently not even the UK truly has you know what I'm saying, super fast broadband. Yeah, you know, the connection them all around, yeah, you know, see it. All right, but yeah, kings and queens, you can see that Auntie Affiong was dropping the knowledge, the information, giving thanks to those who are just joining us. Yeah, we've just got a few internet problems with our connection with Auntie Affiong in Nigeria. Yeah, but she was on for a good hour, yeah, dropping the knowledge, the information, the insight, the perspective, and so we're just trying to make sure that the connection will hold. She has said that she's not sure that the connection will hold, yeah, from here on out. So we're going to try it a bit longer, and if it doesn't, maybe we might have to reconvene, and or I do a pre-recorded interview whereby we can finish up the perspective, yeah, and bring it to you. Yeah, so we may have to engage that. All right, so I will let you know, obviously, if that's what we have to do. You know, if that's what we have to do, kings and queens. All right, so do stay tuned. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna try and get her one more time, and if Auntie doesn't get back on in the next 5 minutes, we'll wrap up, and we'll try to get to finish the thing, yeah, because there's more to deal with, yeah. But what I'm gonna do right now is share the link again, yeah. Bring MA Brown back for those who want to say something. All right, for those who want to say something, brother MA.
Yes, brother, back here.
Yeah. And kings and queens, the link is in the chat, yeah. So, like Auntie Affiong was saying, we may not, yeah, the connection may not hold, all right, any longer, yeah. You know, so you know, we have to honor that. But I promise you, like, because I believe that she was at a critical moment, yeah, when the thing locked off. So that we do have to complete some of that for the sake of our viewers and get that information out there. And I'm saying that partly because I know that the perspective that Auntie Affiong is bringing is not one that we're going to get everywhere. Yeah, it's not one that we're going to get everywhere, but it's very needed. Yeah, it's very, very needed. All right, so we'll try to make sure that we can conclude that one way or another. But we will wait for a bit and see if Auntie Affiong is able to get on. Brother MA, what's your thoughts on this general situation, on the situation in general, anyway?
It's a web. It's quite confusing. I think there's a part of me that is always going to be skeptical of secondhand information, and so I don't tend to tie my whatever flag to, or pin my flag to any particular report that I'm getting or seeing.
Yes.
I know a couple of people that are in Nigeria, and I do value their perspectives. That same brother we was talking about is one of them. I do wonder though, like I was inquiring about any effect that this particular civil conflict is going to have on surrounding African nations. I wasn't sure about the geography of the situation necessarily, but I know someone in Benin. In fact,
Benin or Benin State, there's different things, you know. So
right. So I have to make that distinction myself.
No, yeah, because you got Benin the country, and then you got Benin State, which is in Nigeria.
Is Benin State? Are there Yoruba people in Benin State?
Yes, as far as I'm aware, the majority of Benin State would be Yoruba. Yes.
Yeah, I think it must be Benin State then, because it's
Benin City. Sorry, not Benin State. Benin City.
Yeah.
The state is Edo State. Yeah.
Edo State, that's right. Okay.
Yes.
So we have our brother Iwa Afaleke, who's going to be in Benin shortly.
Right. I
was speaking to him yesterday, saying that he doesn't expect there to be any kind of, crossover in terms of conflict, or I'm saying them type of things there. But I do wonder, especially with the social media age, like I'm thinking about the Arab Spring, and I'm thinking about the opportunists within the Western political complex, how they might, well, on one hand, it could be an organic thing that other young people in other African nations may take this as a reason to do things that they hadn't done previously. And also I can see, agitators trying to make a dent in whatever's going on in some other nations. Mm-hmm. So I just wonder what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. And that's really where I was going to go with Auntie Affiong next year, because whenever you're looking at wars in Africa, there's always a natural resource and a foreign interest at the foundation of that unrest. Yeah, like it's almost never the case, but that is not the case. All right. So and because these nations are so thoroughly wrapped up in foreign interests, I don't know of a world in which Britain and America and France are not going to have something to say about what. Just I'm saying that it's impossible for it not to be the case. That is what neocolonialism is, right? Now the difference is that Benin is a part of the Francosphere, yeah, whereas Nigeria is part of the Anglosphere, yeah, and so that creates some separation sometimes, whereby things that are specific to the Anglosphere don't translate necessarily, all the time into the Francosphere, yeah, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? So that may be partly the reason why. But the other major English-speaking nation in the region is Ghana, and so there will be generally something to be said for that relationship. You know what I'm saying, and what takes place there. So I just don't know. I don't know. There are currently over 200,000 signatures, yeah, on this petition to the British government to impose sanctions on Nigeria, which means that the government has to respond to this petition now. Yeah, and not only has to respond, but the issue has to be debated in Parliament. Yeah, so I guess, and that, as far as I'm aware, that has not happened as yet. But I guess that will take place at some point. So that will rule something. So yeah. Having said that, though, we know that British foreign multinational corporations are there. Yeah, we know BP is there. We know Shell is there, and so we can generally guess that whatever Britain does is going to be in the interest of protecting those corporations. That's it. Now, I have heard some news that the so-called Niger Delta Avengers, which is a unified group of a lot of the activists in the Delta, which is the oil-rich region of Nigeria, are vowing to blow up some oil mines, yeah, if the government don't meet the demands of the protesters, yeah. So I was gonna ask Auntie Affiong if she knows anything about the Niger Delta Avengers. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, kings and queens, yeah. All right. If nobody else wants to come through in the next 2 minutes, I'm gonna wrap up the show. And we're gonna try and see if we can get the rest of Auntie Affiong to you via a pre-recorded thing. Like I said, bro, the way the thing cut off here was at a critical point, where she was getting to the completion of her analysis of the protest dynamics, so that we was able to deal with some of the broader issues surrounding it, and the connection chop off. You know what I mean? So shout out to Vodafone. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because them control a lot of the telecom services in the English speaking world.
Yeah.
And them run things, Vodafone and Virgin. You know what I mean? So yeah, a couple years ago it came out that Vodafone bought up the Ghanaian, the national Ghanaian telecom service. Imagine that. What kind of a security risk is that? Anyway, big up my brother Ellery. Yeah. Yes, kings and queens. All right. What we're gonna do right now, I'm just gonna give you the last announcement. Let anybody know that's just coming through what happened, and then we're gonna wrap up, and I will announce when we've got Auntie Affiong back. Okay, Brother Emmy, I'm gonna let you go. Give thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, give thanks, man. Give thanks.
Appreciate it. Right, kings and queens. Right. Yeah. So what has happened here today is Auntie Affiong was dropping the analysis. It went on for about an hour. Yeah, it was a beautiful expert analysis that took into consideration many things. She was giving us the lowdown from underground as to the different stages of the protests and how it developed, and the politicized youth from the non-politicized youth, if that makes sense, or shall I say previously politicized youth, and how the second batch were basically the ones who faced the guns of the army and were shocked, and that brought out a third group of youth who were more engaged, inclined to react, respond to the violence that they were being faced with violence. And so You know, we were dealing with the dynamics of the army and the soldiers and the politicians lying, but being caught out in the lie in relation to the use of social media by the brothers and sisters who were underground in the protests. Yeah. And so as we were getting that to the end of that part of the analysis, Auntie Affiong's line dropped off. Yeah. So she has said that she doesn't think the line's going to hold. So we're going to respect that. But I will give you a little taste, yeah, of Auntie Affiong whilst you're here, all right? So you can get a feel for the auntie, and then we're gonna lock off the show. I will do my best, yeah, I will do my best to finish this analysis with a pre-recorded interview that we'll upload at some point, Kings and Queens. But thank you for joining us. Watch it back. I do hope you've got something from it. I really, really do hope you've got something from it. Now, why I imagine won't come true right now as I'm about to look off the thing. Right, my brother C, I cannot see your device connected. Oh, let me wait for a sec. I'm going to give you an opportunity here, and then I'm going to look off the show. All right, to say where you are, say, then I'm going to look off the show. So once, okay, your device is still connecting. And then we'll give you a little bit more taste of Auntie Affiong from a different message. And then we'll look off the show. Thank you very much for your patience, Kings and Queens, yeah. You know, but yes, please do watch it back. The analysis thus far has been excellent, yeah, excellent. Very, very valid analysis. Brother C. I'm being very careful, you know, because I know some people like to come on and go on with Shegri. Yeah. Post some funny things on the screen and that. You know what I mean? And I forget the stream and them thing there. So 1 second. Right, brother C, are you there?
Peace and blessings. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, brother C. Good to hear your voice. Okay, what's your contribution?
Hey, you too, bro. Humbly, I just want to say this real quick. You know, in America, you know, we have been doing blog talks and things like that for like the last 10 years. And they, you know, we call it techno pro problems when they cut out the sound at key moments, you know, and it's happening globally. And we have to connect, you know, humbly what Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. calls the big greedies to this conversation. Because there is a movement, like an anti-French revolution-like movement within the corporate reality at this moment in time that's a part of the resistance that seems to be centered in America with the Googleplexes and the Apple universities or whatever. It's like, it seems like that side of the equation is using the technology in a way where, you know, they can manipulate our conversation. So humbly, you know, striving to point that out and connecting that to, you know, humbly, my thing is the system of slavery in America, because they seem to be the root of the beast of this moment in time. And getting us globally to talk about that, I think will go a long way to kind of, you know, causing a proper dialogue with this civilization. Humbly.
I totally agree with you, my brother. I challenge you on America being the root, though. I think what America learned very well from the demons on this side of the waters in Britain.
There you go. I feel you. You know what I'm saying? That's real. Now, see, that's the real kind of conversation that we can have in the 21st century about this conversation that's been going on for thousands of years. You see, we begin that dialogue. They really don't want that, because when we connect us, then we connect South America and Brazil, Africa, Nigeria, the continent. It's over. You dig?
I agree, my brother. I agree. Which part of the states are you in?
I'm in Tennessee. I'm in the center right now. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. You know, up there with Chairman Fred and the Black Panthers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I live in Tennessee, out in the country, and so it's like really interesting for me because, you know, Nashville is the heart of where they started the 1985 Act in America to privatize the prison system. Yes, sir. So I'm here in the heart of the battle, sort of speaking out against slavery. You know, I had two police cars drive by my house. I live way out in the country, man, in a mile circle little neighborhood with one entrance, one way in, one way out. Two police cars drove by my house yesterday as I was doing my little thing on Facebook. And it's like, humbly, we have to quickly take advantage of this moment in time and begin to. Tomorrow's my birthday, and so I'm having a global revolutionary resistance or war with the system of slavery in America on my birthday as a birthday party. I'm like, hey, the whole world's invited. Y'all all can come. Every kidnapped victim around the world. We can all get together on my birthday and just talk about the system of slavery in America. You did?
I understand. Well, happy birthday for tomorrow, King. Happy birthday. I'm fighting a good fight, you know. Happy birthday for tomorrow. I'm fighting a good fight, bro. We hope it goes well, you know. And if we can come through, we'll come through, bro. Enjoying that still. Yeah, give thanks for that, my brother. Give thanks for that. Yeah, thank you for that contribution. Trust me, I appreciate it. Yeah, we got all the crew over there in the United States of America. You know what I'm saying? From Chicago, Tennessee, East, West, North, and South. You don't know, kings and queens. Right, we're gonna wrap up. I'll give you a little piece more of Auntie Affiong vibrations, and then we'll close the show, kings and queens. Do stay tuned because we will endeavor to conclude this interview of Auntie Affiong and some other format in the future. Yeah, we'll make sure that we do that because, you know, I know that you were enjoying that analysis. If you're just arriving, please watch back the first hour of the show. Yeah, because Auntie Affiong was here breaking it down and dropping the knowledge in the first hour of the show. All right, kings and queens, do that. Stay tuned for more announcements coming from gotkushTV before the end of the year. Big, massive things are gone. Kings and queens, yeah, so do stay tuned for all announcements. We look forward to joining you throughout the rest of the year. If you are not subscribed to gotkushTV, subscribe to gotkushTV. Like the video, and visit our website, gotkushtv.co.uk. This has been live from Nigeria. What is going on in Nigeria? It is our pleasure to provide this service for you. And always remember, you ain't got nothing if you ain't got kush.
Self. You must conquer self. And with the question of power comes the question of discipline. That's right. If you don't have self-discipline, you have nothing. That's right. Yes.
What the rest?
Power. So I was saying that, you know, I asked myself, what can I do? What is the one thing I can concentrate on? Because it's overwhelming. And I realized something, that because the vast majority of us are still fast asleep, if you could even concentrate on the question of waking up our people globally, on the question of conscientizing the African, on the question of attempting to reach that irritated genie that is buried deep within each and every one of us. If I could just even take that task and begin to implement it, we might be getting somewhere. Because the day we wake up and just push the master's table over, it's finished.
Yeah.
The game is done.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, so for me now, standing in front and speaking, I'm working. I'm not having a chat or a discussion. I'm at work. I'm at work. I'm not socializing. It's not a social location. I don't come to socialize. I'm not having a chat or just a discussion and some tea. I'm busy at work.
Right.
Because knowledge and information, you know, it must be that we use it like a butcher's knife. We're sharpening our knives.
That's right.
And why would a butcher have a knife if he isn't going to use it?
That's right.
It must be a weapon for struggle, for freedom, for liberation. And I'm saying that, you know, that same thing applies to us. That whatever we do, whatever our skills or our profession, you know, is whatever it is, and it's different things. Some people are in front, some are behind, you know, some you don't know, whatever. It must be a weapon for our freedom.
Word sound.
That's the point that's being made.
Word sound.
So, in terms of going forward, we have to start to attempt mass reconscientization of our people.
That's right.
Mass reconscientization. If we've woken up, if we say we are awake, you better make sure you wake 10 more people up.
That's right.
Unless you will die.
That's it.
Right.
Nobody is escaping alone. You can think you're as clever as wherever, you're wasting your time. We'll either sink or we will swim together.
That's right.
So it's in our own interest to wake as many people as possible up. And in waking people up, we then begin to organize.
That's right.
To organize. So when we talk about organization, it's not some flimsy thing we're just saying and just, they're just trying to recruit you. It's a do or die affair. And so if we like, you can wait till the 11th hour. At a point in time, when things become critical, let's say we've been saying that everybody on this street, coming to number 282, we're going to board the door, there's something coming down the road and we need to get in here, to hide because there's a bunker under this place. So I'm taking my time. I don't believe it. If we know that by 12 midnight they'll strike, and we've been telling you 6 days ago, 5 days ago, let me tell you something. You turn up here at 11 p.m. Affiong won't let you in. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
After a while, it will become too late. That after a while, we will then need to see you as the enemy. Because if you're not part of the solution, you must be part of the problem.
Right.
Because in wanting us to open the door at 11 p.m., you are opening us up to the enemy rushing in. So, I'm just using these simple analogies for us to understand that everybody has a stake, a responsibility, and a duty in this struggle. So I'm saying that, I thought, I think that the question of, conscientization is a key part of the work, but that must be taken to the next level. I was listening to, discussion about Black history. And, we say all the time, they don't teach African history in the schools, and this, and we cry about that all the time. But do you know why they don't teach African history in the schools? And they don't even teach African history in the schools on the continent. Do you know why?
Yeah.
They can't afford to do it.
Exactly.
Come on.
They can't.
Come on.
Because if they did it, there'd be revolution tomorrow.
Word.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now, imperialism has power. If they decide that by Black power look like, that's a deep question. When there's Black power, Africa is able to rule herself. That's the most important thing. The question of sovereignty over our own homeland.
Yeah.
One of the definitions of power is the ability to define reality. That's one of the most basic definitions of power. Right now, imperialism has power. If they decide that by next week, Tuesday, there'll be, a nuclear bomb or whatever, that's exactly what will happen. If they decide that next month, we won't call it December anymore, we'll call it December, that's exactly what will happen.
Yeah, exactly.
They have the power to define reality. If they decide that the train stations, you go to the train station and in order to get through, you hit your head 3 times on the barrier. You're laughing, it's true. That's exactly what will happen.
Yeah.
That is power. The ability to determine reality.
That's right.
So, the day that we have power, because Black people think we're fighting against Eurocentrism, fighting against racism, that, white people must respect us. I don't give a damn about respect.
Yeah.
I'm concerned with power. Not with respect, not with love, not with acceptance. They must accept me. Who gives a damn? I want power.
Power.
Power, not fame.
Yeah. Power.
Power.
Come on.
So in terms of, Africa now, if we have control over our resources, if you have control over the tap in your yard, you can turn it on and you can turn it off. But now the tap of our resources is on, full flowing with a pipe that leads directly to the west. The day you are able to turn that tap off and keep it off, even for yourself, because the resources haven't been used, you haven't known the resources anyway, you won't be missing them. Close the tap. Within 2 days, you will see blood flowing like rivers on the streets all over the West. Days. If you turn those taps off, that would be power. Because not just about turning them off, you have to be able to guard them.
That's right.
To keep them turned off. And wait and see what happens. Then you see all these black people that say they're not Africans. You won't know. They won't even know that they have witchcraft power to run to Africa within a minute. I'm saying to literally just disappear from here and appear home. That's what power looks like. That's what power would look like. And see, the Chinese, they have power. If you mess with a Chinese person anywhere in the world, you know they are not dealing with Chongqing. They're dealing with China. China. And the population of China is about 1 billion. And yet, yes, sorry, more than, yes. Yes. And still they've kept themselves as one country. Why? They understand power. That when you face the Chinese, you face one China. And that's why they fought. They had a civil war. They locked the whole country down and fought to the death. And it was those who survived, and they opened the country and said, we are Chinese.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what power looks like. But look at us. 54 countries. 54 beggars.
I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it.
I'm very proud of it. Some of us, like Nigeria, we big and bad. Our own begging bowl is a gold one. The others who don't have so much money, they have brass begging bowls, silver begging bowls. We don't bother with them.
Calabash.
Yes, some of them even have calabash. Our begging bowl is big, it's gold, it's shining. And we're very proud. India summons Africa. India summons Africa, and we go. China summons Africa. Obama summons Africa. Every Russian, everybody, and we go. In fact, the one that they went to India sometime late last year, it got so bad, apart from them all assembling the heads of state, the Indians made them wear Indian clothes. Haven't you seen it on Facebook? Someone said, I can send it to you. And they came out. Oh, black people. Oh, we are pathetic. Pathetic people. Because they're going to beg. All the resources that we have them, but you go and beg. So who was the artist? It's in the abundance of water. The fool is thirsty. In the abundance of water. The fool is thirsty. Rat race.
That's the one.
That's us. In the abundance of water, the fool is thirsty.
Yeah, word.
Oh.